Hi everybody, Leslie here, back in my craft lab. I've got 3 cards for you today, all using sort of the similar colour palette. I've gone turquoise and pinks today. I'll explain as I'm making them why I went with those colours today. And the stamps that I'm using, so these lovely stamps, these are all with the latest edition of Creative Stamping Magazine. Just to use my last background, I just went for a tone on tone, and this is a Crafter's Companion Gemini stamp and die set. I'll show it when we get to it in the video. So there's quite a few tips and tricks. We've got some masking, how to get your stamps centered on die cuts that are solid dies. So this is the outline die for this one, and it's solid, so you can't see to line it up very easily. So there's some nice tips and tricks along the way today. But yeah, just some colouring techniques, just nice basic card making, using things up, making sure you use up all those things that we buy, that we create. So it's a bit of a use your craft stash kind of video today. So hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I've got a giveaway coming when I do eventually hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm over 860, so hopefully before Christmas. So yeah, if you're already subscribed and you hit notify, you'll know when I do finally get there and post that video, so that you know to comment to be in with a chance to win my giveaway, my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So let's get on with it and do these 3 cards. This was some leftover paste from, it's like a sand texture paste. I think it's Marabou brand. I got it in Lidl in the UK. And it's in a tube, so you can't put it back in the pot. So once I run it through a stencil, this is what I had left. And I just put it on a scrap of card that I had sat on my desk, not wanting to waste it. And I did kind of deliberately make it into a snowy bank, thinking I could use it at some point. And then when I got the previous issue of Creative Stamping, which was 127, they always give you a preview of the stamps that are coming the next time. And this was the stamp plate. So I knew that these were coming like a month ago, and these dropped through my letterbox this morning. I don't think they're out because I subscribed. They usually arrive a bit early. And I think they're out Thursday this week. So they'll be out, what are we? We're on the 6th of November today. I think they'll be out probably Thursday, so 7th, 8th. Somewhere around the 9th of November. I think these will be on general release on CraftStash and in the other shops in the UK. And I think I'm going to use, I was thinking this chap or this one, but I think they might be a bit big for my snowbank. So I think I'm going to just cut along this edge, do a bit of ink blending, and maybe I might even stamp him flat and mask him. So I'm thinking this guy, colour it, mask it, ink blend, and just have him sort of floating above this on his snowboard. So I thought that might be quite fun. So that's what I'm going to do with that one. And then I've also got this one left. Oh, it came with the stencil as well. I'm thinking maybe this big snow might work, because this is kind of mini slimline size, like 3x6-ish, which is probably quite a nice size for that. So I thought maybe I could do that and just use this as a background. So I'm going to have a play with those as well. And that's me finished and used up everything I created in that one afternoon then. So yeah, I'm going to get on with it and we'll see what I do. So I'm just going to cut this because it's got a lot of texture. I'm just going to cut really close to it. And you'll never even know, to be honest, that it's not directly on. I'm just sort of tipping my scissors so I'm going underneath the texture. And you can see. So I've just got some nice smooth white stamping card, and I've chopped it to A5 size, so I know that one of these panels will fit on the front of my card. It doesn't fit in that one, that's too small. And just so I could do all my stamping at once, I just drew a line across the middle, just using my card, so that I can work out where we're going to pop that. These are by Adventures in Ink. So much fun, these stamps. So these being magazine stamps, these are silicone stamps, I think, not photopolymer. They're a lot more stretchy. But for the amount that I tend to use any given set of stamps, it doesn't bother me too much that they are not. Yeah, that's going to work, isn't it? So if we're going to stick that somewhere like that, it's going to look like he's sort of taken off up this slope. So I like that. Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much that these are not photopolymer. These are silicone stamps. They always work perfectly well when I try to use them. Should we get a greeting on there? Should we do a happy Christmas? Or what should we do? Or should we have this snow one, quite like you? Or I'm snow, glad we're friends? Do you know what? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to use this for, because I've had a good idea. My daughter, my older daughter, is going skiing for the first time ever in December. So I might give her this before she goes skiing as sort of a good luck card almost. Yeah, just checking it's going to fit. So let's do, there's snow one quite like you, and I know he's snowboarding, but she might get to have a go at snowboarding as well as skiing. But she's going on a, she was scheduled to go on a skiing trip. So when COVID hit, which was what, March of 2020? So she was scheduled to go in October of 2020, I think it was. Or it might even have been Easter, I can't remember. But it was bought, paid for, it was a school trip. So we'd paid for everything, ready for her to go. We'd bought all of the gear. It must have been at Easter, I think it was scheduled to be, like during their Easter break. So it was like a late season one. But she was scheduled to go, and all bought, paid for, bought her all the equipment. And she'd never been skiing. She was desperate to go. And of course it got cancelled. So we did eventually get the money back. It took quite a long time for the school to get their money back. Well, the parents' money back. But we did eventually for her. Now, I'm going to stamp these ones in Memento, because I'm thinking I'm going to do it in a bit of alcohol colouring, just some quick alcohol ink colouring. Now, I never find Memento gives anywhere near as clear an impression as VersaFine, so I always stamp multiple times in Memento just to get a nice image. And that doesn't matter whether it's photopolymer stamps, silicone stamps, but as you can see, I've not conditioned them, I've not done anything to them. And for my purposes, personally, I think these stamp perfectly well. I'm happy with him. Just a little bit on the snow. That is a big image, isn't it? It's better. And then the greeting, which I've cut ever so slightly, I am going to do my VersaFine, because I'll only ink blend over that. I'm not going to colour it. So there's the difference. One single stamp with VersaFine, and that's pretty much perfect on there. And while we're here, I am going to stamp a mask for our little penguin. And these are just the sticky all over post-it notes. These are the super sticky, and they are sticky. And just so I know I've got it in the right place, I'm just sticking it to my card blank. And now I've stamped, I am going to cut them apart. And just to make cutting out easier, I generally stick my sticky all over post-it note just to a piece of copy paper, just so I've got something not sticky to cut around. So I'm going to do my ink blending first, just in case I mess up my ink blending, because that's obviously quicker than the colouring, and I've just made sure that I've cut my mask as tight as possible to the lines, and I've matched him up. And this is probably a one-use mask because it's only paper, it is only like a post-it note, but he's on there. So I'm just going to find some ink, and I'm going to go obviously with like a sky blue. Hopefully it's going to be sunny. So, and then yeah, he looks like he's taking off up this little slope. So I've just grabbed tumbled glass, broken china, and I've shown this in videos before. This is supposed to be a bar drip mat, and I use it to hold my ink pads when I'm ink blending, because if it's any size ink pad, the little bobbly bits stop it from sliding around. So it doesn't matter what shape your ink pad is, you can kind of push it down, and once you know it's there, if you're doing this, it doesn't slide around. My desk wobbles, which makes my camera wobble, but my actual ink pad isn't moving. So I'm just going to do a little bit of ink blending, make a nice blue background. And I'm thinking, just to make it look like it could be snowing, I'm just going to do some little water splatters. Hopefully it'll look like it's just started to snow. Me being a control freak, I'm trying to get bits all over. And because I left, so my ink blending has obviously gone over my greeting. So because I left my stamps in here, I am actually, take a big breath, I'm going to take my penguin out, though it wouldn't matter because the mask's in. And I am, yeah, it looks like it's good in that corner. Just make sure everything's pushed in. I am just going to restamp my greeting just straight back over the top. So the best bit whenever we mask is always taking the mask off, right? Other than I've managed to stick, I always do it, look. When I restamped, I didn't let the Versamark dry, which it doesn't take ages to dry, but it does take a few minutes, and I've stuck my finger in it. And then when I was pulling the mask off, I've managed to get a bit there and a bit there. So always leave your Versamark to dry for a few minutes, because you can emboss on, heat emboss on Versamark. So it does take a minute or two to dry. And I might, just because it's still sitting here, just with my blending brush, just try and go over it, because oxide ink is sort of opaque, because this is oxide and not the original Distress. It will kind of go back over that bit. So our snowbank's going to pop down the bottom here. And I think I'll probably go over the little swirls, probably with some sparkle or something. so I'm not worried that they're a bit faded. So I just need to find some colours for him, and I think he's going to be black and white penguin, and I'm going to go pinks because my daughter loves pink. Pale pink blend and bright pink blend out of my tri-blends, and I've also got the burnt orange blend. And then because I don't have a grey or a black, these are the original Spectrum Noir markers that I've had for years. I've pulled out True Black and IG3 and IG9 just as some light grey colours. So the grey barrels on the tri-blends are all brushes, and then the black barrels are the same bullet tips as on the original Spectrum Noir pens. I think let's just do his little beak first. My colouring method with alcohol markers is basically colour all of it in one colour, usually the lightest, and then just put a bit of shading in a darker colour, either the mid, if I'm using a tri-blend, either the mid or the darkest, and then occasionally just blend it back out a tiny bit. I don't always blend it out much. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But these are tiny, teeny, weeny images, so not much shading required. Hope you can see the gradation of colour across there. So, and I'll show you it again in a minute when it's dried a bit, because the alcohol's still evaporating out of there. And then go again, he's still drying a little bit, but you can see I just used, so that was, if you've got Spectrum Noirs, these are the original ones, that's IG9 and IG3 that I used. And I didn't use any of the black in the end, I decided that was dark enough. My little penguin. Now I might just come back and add some more splatters because I ink blended them back out. And it shouldn't affect the alcohol. It will make the memento ink run, so I'm just being careful that it shouldn't affect the alcohol because that's waterproof as well. The memento not so much. There it is. So I just need to mount that on my card blank. So again, I think I'm going to go with wet glue. Just give me a bit of wiggle time because I think I haven't quite trimmed this to exactly A6, and I don't want to die cut it. So I am going to end up trimming a tiny bit off my card base, which I'm just going to do with the scissors because I don't think with this texture it will sit square in my guillotine or my trimmer. Tidy up the back panel just on my trimmer. Side fold, A6. There's snow on Quite Like You, using my lovely texture paste that was literally leftovers because you can't stick it back in a tube, and a little bit of masking, a little bit of ink blending, splattering, and a little bit of colouring. And by the way, the pink and white is the colours that my daughter's ski gear that we got her, which fortunately still fits her. And like I said, I think I will just add a tiny little bit, and I wanted to do it when it was all stuck down so I can leave it to dry. I'm going to add a little bit of glitter. This is Stickles Stardust, and this is one of my most used stickles. And I've just got my Nude Vogue crystal drops. This is the clear stuff, and I'm just going to put a tiny drop on it, my little eyes. And there's apparently a trick that if it's not sitting really flat, to flick your card from behind. All finished. So I think, again, I've got turquoises. I'm going to fussy cut this out somehow and use my other leftover background on a slimline card. So let's cut this up to start with. And I think I'm going to fussy cut this before I colour it in case I decide I don't want to use it. Now, I've not decided, and the reason I fussy cut it first was if it's going to cover up too much of my background. If I get rid of these landlocked bits, I think it'll be all right. So I think if I raise that up on some foam pads or something, that'd be quite fun. There's enough showing through that I don't feel like I've lost my whole background. So now I'm just going to colour this one. So I've zoomed in a bit so you can see me colouring, but I will pop it on fast forward. I'm just going to use some of the same colours. I think I'm going to go for an ombre pink because that goes quite nicely with the turquoise. And obviously there's a little penguin on here, and I'll find some other colours. So there we go, all coloured in. Not the best colouring I've ever done. I've done better. I was trying to go for an ombre effect across the letters. Not sure how well it worked. But that's one little time saver if you're having a little crafting session. If you've got some colours out on your desk that you've used on one project, stick with the same colours, use them on the next project. The only colour I added in was a tiny little bit of the jade green just for the holly because I thought it didn't work otherwise. And I added in a earth brown blend just to go on the little birds and to do a bit on the sledge. So I'm just going to pop all that onto, this is a 3x6 mini slimline. I'm going to zoom my camera back out so you can see what I'm doing. I might mat this. I might just trim it down so it's got a more even border. So it's needs a little bit off the sides, I think. And I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of doing it by eye, which, you know, sometimes it's quicker than trying to work out measurements. I'm just thinking, I've got a pattern paper in here that looks like snow. And I'm wondering if it'll look okay. It's not as turquoise, it's a bit more blue. Do we think? Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with that. And because I know this edge isn't square and I'm using up a scrap, I'm going to use my layering rulers. So when I got these years ago, these were called Perfect Layers. And I think the company was called Perfect Layers, but I think We Are Memory Keepers has bought the patent or something like that. So these allow you to choose how wide you want your border to be. You stick your panel down and you use the ridge on the ruler to catch along the edge and run your craft knife along. These have all got a metal edge so you can run your craft knife around. So We Are Memory Keepers do a version of these, and they've got it in millimeters, or in my set, I don't know if the We Are Memory Keepers ones are exactly the same, but mine say in inches and in millimeters what border you'll get if you use the different ones. So they're a bit big, that's 3/4 of an inch. Let's go 3/16. I'm thinking 3/16 should be okay and should still fit. So you pick the size you want and then you butt it up to the layer you've stuck down. You find the craft knife that you had earlier and can't see where you put it on your desk. So you pick a different craft knife, which I think is a bit blunt, but I think this is only thin paper, it'll work. So do one side, and as long as your layer is already quite square, you'll be fine. Let's do this side. And you just make sure you butt it up to it. So if you've got quite a thick layer, like I have, it works quite well. And you just work your way around. So just making sure you use the same edge every time. And there we go. So if you've seen these advertised, or if you've got them and never used them and you needed a refresher, that's a quick way to add a mat to something that you haven't measured, so you don't know the exact size of it. So I'm now hoping, yeah, that I'll get a nice little white border around that on my card. Because this is a card blank I made myself, I'm actually just gonna trim this edge off. Whoops. So don't be afraid to trim bits off your card panels. And then I'm just going to pop this up on some foam pads. And I'm just putting a little bit of wet glue on because this is going over, it's like a glitter texture paste. So the wet glue will just sort of drop into any spots where it's kind of not flat, and it'll just help grab onto that glitter better than the foam pads on their own would. And there we go. One more little snowman card done using one of my backgrounds. So all the little bits of snow that is stuck to them, I'm just going to do the same thing and add some stickles to them. That particular stamp in the latest copy of Creative Stamping does fit nicely on a 3x6 card. You obviously don't, if you stamp it direct on, you don't need to spend the time fussy cutting like I did, but I wanted some of that to show through. And I did notice I cut out where that bit there should be solid, because that should be the snowman's body, but I don't think anyone but me will notice that. I've got one more panel left, and that really is it then. So I think I'm just going to put a word on this and mount it again on the same 3x6 side. So I'll probably do that off camera and come back and show you when all the glue's dried on these and show you what I do with this one. I was going to do this off screen, but I thought I'd show you. So I'm using the Crafter's Companion Snow. It comes with the die that cuts out the shadow for the stamp. So it's a solid die, so you can't see really to line it up once you've stamped. So you need to do it the other way around. And I want to show you one of the ways I do it. So I've just got a piece of copy paper and I've already die cut my piece that I'm going to stamp on. And I'm not going to do it like this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my stamp onto my copy paper, and I am actually just going to find my tape. I'm not going to rely on my magnets holding this down. I'm just going to get a piece of washi tape. And this doesn't need to be for a word die, it can be for any die. So I've taped my stamp onto my piece of copy paper. It could be anywhere. In fact, it's probably better if it's in the middle, just in case I don't hit that edge. So in my stamp platform, I'm just going to make sure that's not going to move. It's not going to go anywhere now. It can be anywhere, any type of stamp platform, other than it's lifting the whole thing. Brand new stamp. I've never used this one before. Make sure we're still, yeah. And I'm just going to do it in Catherine Pooler Fiesta Blue because I think it'll go nicely with my glitter paste. And this doesn't need to be a perfect stamp. First stamp rarely is. And it's only on copy paper, so make sure that's not moved because my paper has. I'm going to flip it over and do it again because my foam mat moved. So I think now I've inked up my stamp, it won't move. Take that to my foam mat, which is this time pushed into the bottom corner. Hopefully it won't move so easily now because it's had ink on it, so it was all sticking. And that's what tends to happen with brand new stamps. It tends to stick to the paper the first time you stamp. So that's better. Doesn't need to be perfect impression anyway. And then what you do is you take your outline and line it up around it till you're happy. And take that down to your paper. Probably using way more tape than I need to, but then all you need to do, and this is also works for repeat stamping, so if you're batch making, you just cut out tons and tons of blanks. So even if it's not this type of stamp, it's much quicker to cut out loads and loads of blanks and then just drop them into a template like this. I don't think I inked that very well. And then this, hopefully, will be dead center, or at least as well lined up as I lined it up on my die cut. And I just need to poke out the little pieces. There we go. Snow. And just because I'm trying to use things up, this is another paper pad in my stash, and I'm thinking this spotty blue, because there's spots in the stencil and it's the turquoise blue. And to make my mini slimline card blanks, I'm just using up, I got from Facebook Marketplace, it's quite a nice card, it's thick enough for card bases, but all one edge of it has got slightly damaged and it's slightly dirty, like it's been on a shelf for a very long time. So because some of the edges of this are okay and the middles are okay, it's kind of perfect for chopping down to 6-inch squares and not using the edges, if that makes sense. So all the dirty bits get chopped off and I use them for, so when I've been making sliding puzzle cards and things like that, hidden away in all the strips or in the layers when I've been making spinning puzzle cards, I can make myself mini slimlines from all those sheets so that they don't go to waste. And I think finishing touch, I'm just going to add a little bit, because I've got it out of stickles, to the top of these as if it's snowed. You could do that with a white pen or something, but there we go. That's it. I have finally used up all of those sparkly glitter paste backgrounds, and these are the glitter pastes that I rescued in one of my Use Craft Stuff videos. I'll link that below if you want to see. So I think this one was pretty much solid when I rescued it, and there is a way, as long as it's something that you clean with water, there is a way to rescue those glitter pastes even if they've gone almost solid. So the stickles on this one's nearly dry, so it does dry reasonably flat once it started to go. And hopefully his little eyes, yeah, his little eyes are nearly dry as well. So that was using the sand texture paste, the Snow Quite Like You. And this one was using one of my backgrounds, and I showed you how to use your perfect layers rulers if you've got them, but we are memory keepers, make those. I'll link those if I can find them. The colouring's growing on me actually. I wasn't that happy with it, but now it's all put together and the stickles is drying, I'm a bit happier with it. And then I just went for a tonal one. There's not actually much of the pattern paper peeking out, but it does just give it a little lift, so it's not just white on white. So that one's just a little bit of stickles to dry on that one, and that one's all done. And that's it. I've used up all my background, so I'm very pleased with myself. Not putting things in my bits box, not adding to it. So yeah, that's creative stamping, the new stamps that are out this week. So that's creative stamping, I think it's 1 to 8. And hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, notify, all that lovely stuff. It really does help all us little creators. Still do a little happy dance every time somebody subscribes. And when I do hit 1,000 subscribers, I've got a giveaway that I'm slowly adding to. Every time I find something in my stash that I've got doubles of, it's going in a pile for a giveaway. So when I do hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a giveaway video, show you everything I've got, and I will pick from a comment on that video, random number generator, and whoever that random number generator, whatever number comment it is, I will post out a bundle of all the doubles in my stash, so you can get a big bundle. But you need to be subscribed and comment on that video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Something a bit different. Going back to some old basic techniques like masking and ink blending. All little fun tricks and tips. And I will see you again soon. Bye.